So, with us all waiting on this new silk, it sounds like it's going to be a big rush job.
Yeah, I'm guessing you'll need us to do a bit of overtime, will you?
Go. Carla.
Ideally, I'd like to see some smoke coming off their machines.
Well, I wouldn't tempt fate. We've got enough problems as it is.
We was just wondering when this new silk's due. Well, I promise you, Beth, when it arrives, you'll be the first to know, OK?
Oh, so it is on its way, then?
What is this? The Weatherfield Inquisition?
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 218 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that couldn't help wondering when Stephen was called International Man of Business if he was close to asking Carla if she was horny, baby. I'm Gavin. Well, there seems to be a 2-second delay here. There we go.
You had me chuckling. I hate it when that happens.
What?
When your intro catches me off guard and makes me laugh.
Well, I try and do that every week, so it doesn't happen very often then.
Throws everything else out of my head.
Oh, well.
And I'm debt-free.
Thank you, Joe Biden.
Thank you, Joe Biden. And thank you, LBJ, for making Pell Grants a thing in the first place. Because it's because of my Pell Grant that I qualify for the $20,000 forgiveness as opposed to the $10,000 forgiveness.
Oh.
So that wipes out all of my debt, which is nice.
So it's mountain bikes all round for Christmas.
It's such a relief because, you know, I haven't really been paying much. I've been throwing some money at it when I remember to, but I haven't been paying much past.
We should explain this. For the duration of the pandemic, there was a kind of freeze put on it, or it was interest free, and you could just pay what you like. Or you didn't need to pay anything at all, I think.
No.
Right. So you chose to pay some towards it, which I think was a sensible thing to do.
Yeah, for the course of the pandemic, and we were supposed to start paying back. Payments were supposed to restart this month
in full.
Yeah, and now, you know, there's this debt forgiveness, and then if you still have it, it's been pushed back till the end of December. So, thank you, Uncle Joe.
It's like, as we were saying last night, when you've got a car loan and you stop paying off your car loan, the best thing you can do is get a new car and a new car loan, because that money that you're saving by not spending it on the car loan, or your student loans in this example, just gets eaten up in general other shit.
Yeah, I'm not going back to college, though.
No.
I suppose we do have
buy a car.
2 children coming up who will be attending college, but hopefully will not have the sort of loan issues. It seems like they're reformatting student loans so that they're not so unbearable. So.
That's right, listeners. We've decided to pitch from Coronation Street to Student Finance Podcast, also called The Talk of the Street, which I think is going to cause some confusion.
I'm sure this is fascinating for people who don't live in the U.S., so don't realize that this is yet another issue that we have here in the U.S.
And all the others who neither know nor care. Right.
It's like you and cheerleaders. You're like, what's the point of this?
Yeah.
Who are these girls?
So we went.
What are they here for?
A nice little segue onto last night when our child number 2,
child number 3,
child number 2 in the house, though, is in the marching band.
Yes.
So she was playing at the halftime show.
Right.
At the football game at the alumni stadium.
Right.
In Eaton Rapids.
Yes. They played a Superman theme.
Not one that I'm familiar with.
The Superman theme. The Avengers theme. And then Billie Eilish's No Time to Die.
Yeah.
From
wasn't exactly upbeat.
James Bond. Jimmy Bond. Notorious hero.
But, and I noticed you posted this on Facebook, what I'm meant to talk about as soon as we got there, but then forgot about, was the woman who grabbed your arm. So we're paying to get in, because you have to pay to get into these things, even though it's like kids that are playing this.
Right, but they're high school kids.
Right.
And it's expensive. As we know, because we have to pay $180
anyway,
in athletic fees.
You have to go to a box office and buy your ticket.
Yes.
And as we're buying our ticket, the woman who's stamping your arm to allow you to get in, because you don't actually get a ticket.
Right.
She grabs your arm and twists it. And I'm like,
Right.
what the fuck's going on here?
Because she wants to get a better look at my tattoo.
Yeah, I thought she was trying to wrestle a gun from you or something.
But she doesn't say, oh, what is your tattoo? Or, oh, can I see your tattoo? No, she just grabs my arm and twists it over and then says, nice tattoo. And I'm so shocked that I just kind of say, thanks, and walk away. But it was horrifying, especially horrifying for somebody like me who doesn't like to be touched by strangers or acquaintances for that matter.
Yeah. Helen likes to live in a little bubble of minimum contact.
I'm very picky about the people I allow to touch me.
Right.
And am even more picky considering we're still in a pandemic. And that we also have this other mini pandemic going on with the monkeypox that you can catch from skin-on-skin contact.
Well, I don't think anybody's thinking about the monkeypox.
Oh, I'm thinking of the monkeypox.
Anyway, how have you been otherwise?
Good. Yeah. It was a fairly uneventful week. I went to see the new Leonard Cohen documentary on Wednesday, which I'll be talking about on List of Lists tomorrow, and got retweeted by the Twitter account for that particular movie when I posted about how fabulous Judy Collins still is.
Oh, nice.
So that was cool. How was your week?
I've been watching Friday the 13th movies.
You have. Thanks to our pal Nathan Tyree of the Bloodfest podcast.
And that's all you need to know about that.
Yeah. And your tattoo is healing nicely.
It's still there.
It's still there
I'm assuming it's going to be there from now on.
for the rest of your life.
Right.
I may have it removed at your death and frame it so that a piece of you is always with me.
Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that cannibalistic Corrie news.
We love Maureen Lipman
We do.
as Evelyn.
This is
in
news.
Corrie, but can't imagine her as Ruth in The Split. Although she's revealed she nearly landed it before the BBC went with Deborah Findlay instead. I can't imagine her in a BBC drama. Can you?
Yes,
You can.
easily.
Really? Mm-hmm. Well, we almost saw it. But no, we didn't. Because I don't think either one of us have watched The Split, first of all.
I didn't know it was a thing.
And also, I can't imagine her not being in a comedic role of some kind.
Oh,
So, but then again, I've only seen her in commercials and in interviews and on Coronation Street. So I'm sure there's a big hole in my Maureen Lipman experience that shall be filled at some point.
I'm so glad you said the Maureen Lipman experience there.
Alexandra Mardell's Emma is dearly missed on the street, especially by us. So we're very excited to see her stepping into a comedic role, speaking of comedic roles, in the upcoming ITV series The Family Pile next year. It's an unfortunate title for a show, isn't it?
The family hemorrhoid. Yeah.
Family Pile. Yeah, I'm excited to see Alexandra in this new role. It looks funny, and she's a funny person.
She
I
is.
think this is the right step for her to move into more.
Do you worry though that she's playing?
No, because the character, she's not playing to type.
What question did you answer in here?
You're worried
Is it
that
the one that I didn't finish asking?
I am not worried that she's going to be just basically playing Emma again.
Right.
Just from like the still publicity photos of the show, just her pose and her poise and everything just to me evokes a different kind of character.
A more confident character, perhaps.
Yes. So, and this is a show where she's not basically just an orphan, because she kind of felt like an orphan on the street, didn't she? Because
No, she wasn't like Oliver Twist or anything.
no, but her mother was in Australia, and for the longest time we didn't see her dad, and then we do see her dad, but he dies, and then she finds out that Steve was her dad all along. She always kind of felt like Whereas this, she's firmly within a family dynamic. So I think it will be different, and I'm excited to see it and prove myself correct. And finally, Kevin Kennedy, who played Curly Watts on the show, has come clean about his alcoholism, stating that he used to down a bottle of vodka every day before coming to set. Can you imagine? Before.
Oofed.
Until a seizure nearly took his life and gave him the wake-up call to get sober. So he is now sober, and we wish him all the best in his sobriety. I can't imagine.
I can't imagine doing anything after that much booze other than going to sleep.
Right. Much less going to work and successfully acting.
Right.
So apparently the showrunners were aware
Got to have been aware of it.
Involved in encouraging him to get sober, but it wasn't until he was being loaded into the back of an ambulance that he's like, wait, maybe I should stop doing this.
Well, there are
good for him.
certain personality types that don't really go well with sitting about on a set doing nothing for a lot of the time, and then you're called upon to do something for a few minutes, and then you're back to sitting about doing nothing.
Right.
So, a bottle of vodka though.
Bottle of vodka. So like with no mixers or anything, just straight vodka.
Oh, straight as well?
Yeah.
So it's not even pleasant.
No.
I don't know why people drink vodka.
Anyway. I know Russians. I've met Russians who drink vodka straight, but I've never met anybody else who drinks vodka straight. It's not exactly the most pleasant thing to drink straight.
No.
I've sipped it straight, but that's just because I was in a room full of Russians. So
that again is for another podcast.
Yes.
Which brings us neatly on to
and that's
podcast
Corrie
for coffee. I didn't realise that I made an unintentional pun there. Brings us neatly on to neat.
Yeah, because drinking vodka neat.
Yeah, let's explain that.
Yes.
Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Thank you to Anonymous for buying us our coffees this week.
Woo! Yay, Anonymous.
I don't know if it's always the same Anonymous.
Probably not.
Because that's the point of anonymity, right?
That's correct.
So I am drinking my coffee as usual from my wonderful Talk of the Street Bannerhead mug. And you, as ever.
I'm drinking it from the black and white floral oversized mug that I believe I got from a box lot in an auction once and sold the others in the set and kept this one because there was a little bit of a glaze flake in the side. But it's nice. It's big.
Glaze flake. It happens to the best of us.
It does.
If you want to buy us next week's coffees, then you can go to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. And we'll be very appreciative, won't we, Helen?
Yes, we will.
Just like we were for Anonymous.
Yes, we are.
And now, this.
Welcome.
Well, welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about some arachnid Pied Piper.
A spider that's musical? When did this happen?
As I was typing this, I was thinking, nay chance is the amount of chances that you have of remembering this. I barely remembered it. This was Todd pretending that he'd found a spider because he'd actually found Phelan's ashes.
Right.
So
and
he covered
freaked
for
out.
that. He pretended that he found a spider and he blamed the Undertaker. And the Undertaker said that he hadn't lured the spider in like some arachnid Pied Piper. Because that's how the Undertaker talks. Yeah. I was Gavin and you didn't think I was ready for this jelly.
I still don't.
And it turns out, dear listeners, I wasn't ready for that jelly.
And I mean, there's significantly less jelly here than there was. Thank you, diabetes medications.
Oh, that's what that jelly means? I thought the question was, the statement was, I don't think you're ready for this, jelly.
No.
And the jelly was...
It's a line from Bootylicious.
Right. Yeah, I don't think you're ready for this jelly, saying that you're jealous of this.
No, I don't think you're ready for this jelly.
Oh, for this
in
jelly.
my ass.
Oh.
Not that I've ever had a bootylicious ass in my life. I'm just not built that way.
No, you're not.
No. Thanks, Dad, for the jeans.
Which don't
And
fit.
also for the jeans.
Right.
Me.
Yeah. I'm working on my Mick Jagger impression. I'm
For
sorry.
some reason, Gavin's been doing a Mick Jagger impersonation for like a week now, sometimes in public, where he does the chicken wing thing. So please send help.
In the form of coffee. To ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street. It was drag race season and you had bootylicious stuck in your head.
Right.
Skimmadoon sent me scurrying back to the office in a fog of Scottish twee. This was a show you were watching.
Oh, Schmigadoon.
I think I actually have spelt that right. I just don't know how to say it.
Schmigadoon, which is, kind of based upon Brigadoon, but also
Oh, really?
it's a musical. So, and you hate musicals.
I do.
So that would send you back to the office. And it was also starring, what's his name? Your countryman who you're not very fond of.
Oh, it was that Cummings bastard, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Alan Cummings.
We discovered that we both had separate Paramount Plus and Hulu accounts.
I think we
still
still do.
Ginger Minge was your girl.
She was. She still is. Justice for Ginger Minge.
It was the week of Sally saying the girls 33 times in 21 seconds, which I think proved to be one of our
Most popular
tweets.
Yes.
Maria discovers the root of Liam's tickly cough, and thanks to a speculating doctor at the hospital, Kirk's work van is in for a bit of a going over with a metal bar. That was a year ago. Feeling guilty about his moment with Fizz last week, Tyrone doubles down with Alina but worries that Emma may have overheard too much. Daisy attempts to make amends by coaxing Jenny into moving on with her life and into Ronnie's bed. Michael finally comes clean with Grace about his feelings with predictable results. There's a blast from the past lurking at the back of the funeral parlour stockroom that shocks Todd to his core and may open old wounds for Eileen. With Kelly's defence funds dwindling away, a sudden windfall helps Imran pay for the expert advice that might just get his client off the hook.
Yoo-hoo.
Abby shouts at Chesney about chips. Gary's van isn't powered by fairy dust, and Toya's donuts are sprinkled. Our moment of the week was Todd discovering Phelan's ashes in front of Eileen and the Undertaker, and our boring moment of the week was Johnny just walking into the pub. And that was Coronation Street. And the talk of the street. This time
Did we
last
ever
year.
see him walk into a pub again? Maybe.
So the end of August? Yeah, must have done. In fact, definitely did.
Because he's usually in the back. So we don't usually see him walk in because he's
I
already
think that
there.
was that he just walked in and didn't do anything. I think that's what it was. He just walked in like
And again-
like he was retracing his steps and he'd lost his keys or something.
He's typically already there, so we don't tend to see him walk in.
Well, she'd chucked him out at this point, hadn't she?
Oh, that's true.
Because of his attempted armed robbery of the bistro. What's it with the bistro and robberies?
It looks rich, but it isn't.
Right.
Nobody's going to try to rob Roy's Rolls, for example.
And that is a gold mine.
Seriously.
$4.50
Maybe rob
for
them
chips
of
and
their
curry.
pastries.
Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
Our first storyline this morning is up on Steve's roof. Oh, it's this morning. This is the first time we've recorded on a Saturday morning for yonks.
Yes. Up on the roof.
Just some scenes on Monday for this. Ed and Paul turn up to work on number one's roof, but Steve explains that his first guy ended up turning back up.
Yeah.
And he's already paid that guy, so he sacks Ed and Paul despite Ed's renewed insistence that the guy's a crook.
He's a cowboy.
Later, Steve has chosen to stand outside his house to phone his builder guy friend. Ed and Paul drive by and note that fuck all has been done since they last spoke. Steve
So they
ignores
laugh
him
and laugh.
and demands that the first guy shows up pronto. Later still, there's a knock at the door that Steve thinks is the first guy, but it's actually the scaffolding guy come to take his scaffolding down. Steve puts him off because his roof guy is still to turn up, so the scaffolding guy scams Steve out of another 500 quid in cash to extend that hire. And at this point, I'm thinking, the scaffolding guy and the roof guy
Are in cahoots. Yeah. They got to be, right? Because it was the roof guy that hired the scaffolding guy. Why does the roof guy not have his own scaffolding? You'd think he would have his own scaffolding.
Yeah.
Who hires scaffolding? If they're professional roofers.
I think this is... Steve used to be in the building trade. Steve had experience
Nobody
of this.
remembers that. Least of all the writers.
So I think he would know that you pay the builder, and from the money that you pay the builder pays the scaffolding guy.
One would assume.
This is what subcontracting is, right?
Right.
I think.
Sometimes.
So, yeah.
If you're lucky.
This is what I assume's going on. Steve hasn't put 2 and 2 together yet.
No.
In the Rovers, a furious Tracy meets up with Peter. She was expecting to meet Steve, but Peter explains that Steve had sent him as his tribute, like Hunger Games.
Right. Yes, because Steve is terrified of Tracy.
Peter explains about the 500 quid to pay the scaffolder. Again? Asks Tracy. That was pretty funny. And she calls Steve a cowardly bastard.
Yes.
Steve goes round to the builder's yard to speak with Ed and to beg him to fix the roof again. But Ed and Paul have already broken ground on their new job, so Steve says, Ed, you're fucked.
Yep.
He offers to phone round his building contact mates.
Right.
But Steve won't be getting any discounts or any mates rates from this. Gutted and now skint, Steve slinks away to wonder how he's going to explain any of this to his Tracy.
He's not. He's going
Well,
to
he
hide.
doesn't, because that's all we get of this
Right.
storyline.
Yes.
He did stump his toe on the bright yellow scaffolding.
Right in front of Leo, who just nodded wisely and went,
That's what happens with that scaffolding.
Is that basically all we hear from Leo this week?
I believe so.
Yeah. He only came to work to nod knowingly and say,
This is how people get in the vodka, apparently. You turn up. I don't think all these people live in Manchester, do they? I
No.
don't think so.
Probably not.
Judging by Sofa Cinema Club, I think Ben Price lived in London when he's on the...
Well,
he shared a flat with
No,
Coulson,
he
didn't
shared, yeah, his family lives in London, but when he's on the show, he
Not
shares
London.
a flat with Coulson. I can't imagine who does the dishes in that flat.
So Steve's lunacy with this roof thing, is it even his roof to fix? It's still Ken's, isn't it?
Right, but he said he would do it.
That's his first mistake.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that Ed and Paul were going to end up fixing it, but
Good for
this
Ed.
can't be the story, right? This can't be the story as Steve's roof. There has to be something else going on here.
This feels like a story they plug in every once in a while for comic relief and to fill time. This does not feel like a major storyline.
So you think the crescendo at the end of this story is the roof gets fixed?
Or the roof falls in.
Well, that's not going to happen.
The roof is the sinkhole that we only kind of remember every once in a while when it's necessary to remember it.
Well, the sinkhole did obviously, how we
Eventually.
forget, provide more drama when
But that
people
happened.
fell into it.
That happened like over a year after it started. So, and there were many weeks where we're like, do they not remember there's a sinkhole back there? So,
I need something more to come out of this roof than just the roof. There needs to be something coming out of it. We can't just have it generating 2 stubbed toes and that's it.
and this animosity between Ed and Steve, we've got that as well.
I don't even know if it's animosity, is it?
I'd be really irritated by Steve. I'm
Oh,
surprised
Ed
Ed
is
hasn't
irritated,
punched him
yeah.
in the face. I would punch him in the face. I'm surprised Tracy hasn't punched him in the face.
So what you're saying is that at some point someone's going to punch Steve
in the face?
and that's what this story's for.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Steve will pull him up at face and we'll all laugh. And then the roof will get fixed without fanfare and we'll forget it ever happened.
Well, I'm beginning to forget it already.
Good.
Moving on then, our next storyline this morning is www.knickerfactory.omg. On Monday, at the factory, they're still having supply chain problems thanks to the silk guy from last week that was sent on his way by Carla. The Knicker people are hoping to wrangle some overtime out of this. Carla
Yes.
has drawn a blank so far trying to source it from somewhere else, so Sarah goes to mention Stephen again, but Carla cuts her off with a swift boot to the pie. Later in the pub, Carla is still trying like a bear to get silk from anywhere, but the chippy and the kebab shop supplies are very low. Sarah comes in to give Carla some bad news about the impending deadline and to mention Stephen's name again. Sarah leaves, and Carla whispers to Peter that she thinks Sarah is on a commission from the Stephen fella. And it's made to look like a scam when Stephen wanders in. Carla asks if his offer is still open, which Stephen confirms it is, and available quickly, and he asks Carla to text some details and he'll be sure to get her a deal. Carla buys his drink to say thank you. It's a badly poured half pint of bitter, which I think spoke volumes.
Yes.
Because Stephen's a whiskey guy,
Is he?
and he's drinking a half pint.
Are Canadians typically whiskey guys?
Stephen is. Wasn't born in Canada.
No, and he doesn't live in Canada now. He lives in Italy.
Do
That just
Italians
makes-
drink whiskey?
No.
They don't?
Don't think so.
They must do.
They're more wine people, aren't they? Italians?
I think that's quite stereotypical.
Yes.
Do they say ciao a lot as they zoom by on their Vespas?
Yes. Yes, they do. Yes,
Glad
they do.
Glad we've established that.
Yes. With all their machismo.
Ciao.
Bella.
Yeah.
No.
In the factory, Stephen. In the factory, Stephen, who at best is a temporary supplier of the factory, but not actually an employee of the factory, is chatting to Sarah, basically bumming her up as being businesswoman of the year, and she has to have more confidence in herself. He suggests that she buys Carla out. There are always ways to get money, he says, and during this, he helpfully explains that Carla owns 50% of the factory, and Sarah and the other knicker people own the other 50%. So I'm glad that that's been cleared up.
Thank you for establishing this.
Now, if you can just explain everyone who's living at Chesney's house, that would also be fantastic.
Yes,
and Eileen's.
These invisible quads that we only see like one at a time.
I think we got a faint
hear.
hearing of them. It was Ben Price that was doing the voice of the
Right,
the
of course,
chorus
as he's wont to do.
So there's a bit of banter later between Fizz, Beth and Sarah when they tell Sarah about a time that Carla screwed over Heather Offerton in a business deal by pouring water down her knacks to make it look like Heather had wet herself. Stephen comes in with his very good offer, which he communicates to Carla by throwing his mobile phone in her face rather than saying the number out loud. But it's a good offer.
Yes.
It was 3,000 and something. I paused it.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. Because I was going to put a Mr. Osborne as a fanny on it.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't be bothered.
No.
Privately, Carla is still furious that she'd been let down by her suppliers and she doesn't like doing nepotism deals. Sarah coughs Johnny and tells her that she should listen to international manor business Stephen more often. Carla promises to take Sarah's advice just as soon as Sarah owns the factory and then delivers another swift boot to the pie. In the Rovers, Sarah is explaining her business ideas to Stephen. These are great ideas.
Well, she wants
New lines and different designs.
with more cheekiness. Whatever happened to Nina being a designer at the factory? That's what I want to know.
Oh, that'll...
Because Sarah is not a designer. We've seen the inside of her house. So
That was a nice house. Wasn't it? I just remember
Anyway.
her lying naked on the sofa.
of course you do.
Her leather trousers and a bundle at her side.
Sure.
That's what I remember.
Anyway, it's just like her whole thing, like she's describing what she wants to do, and it's like, this doesn't sound like a brand new line. This isn't, when I think of, we're going to expand and do this whole new line and it's going to bring more people in, I think, they're going to expand into, lingerie or nightgowns or slips or, another line that brings in a different aspect of ladies' undergarments that might spark interest. Not, I like these pants, but I want them to be more cheeky. Especially since that's really kind of not the way women's undergarment fashion is really going at the moment. At the moment, most undergarment factories and lines for women are focusing more on comfort and being available in all sizes rather than using even less fabric to show off your ass, because it's more along the lines of, women buying underwear for themselves as opposed to looking sexy for men. So, this is why Victoria's Secret is one of the reasons why Victoria's Secret is in bankruptcy right now, is because women are kind of saying fuck off to all of that sort of thing.
That's supposed to be a secret, you.
That and the whole, attachment to Brian Epstein, but never mind.
Brian Epstein?
Jeffrey Epstein, yes, not the manager for the Beatles. Apologies to his ghost. But
Too late. That's his lawyers getting involved.
that's it. I'm going to be haunted by a gay British ghost from now on.
Y fronts. That's the future of the knicker factory. Just start making
Right,
Y
a
fronts.
men's line. A men's line would be very interesting. I could see them doing a men's line of like sexy boxers
It's
and
time for Y fronts again. Stephen is so impressed he agrees to give her Stephen is so impressed he agrees to have her back in pitching the idea to Carla, and if that fails, they can always stage a hostile takeover. I'm joking, not really joking. Businesswoman of the Year Sarah thinks Stephen is joking, but he's not joking. But they give each other some cheers.
Yeah. I don't like how dumb Sarah is in all of this. Can I just say that? How she's allowing her uncle to kind of lead her by the nose by complimenting her. I mean, it kind of fits her personality to be led by the nose by flattery. But
she just wants anyone, to believe that she knows what she's doing and she's in the right job.
Right.
And the first person who does that seems to be Stephen.
I mean, she and Carla had made peace before now. They were sort of getting along and being able to run the factory together until Stephen showed up.
On Wednesday at the Knicker factory, Sarah just can't take her eyes off the shiny new website. She explains the factory's...
But just the video part. We still haven't seen any of the product lines on the website for ease of buying. Also, do they sell directly to consumers or do they wholesale? I was under the impression that they were wholesalers.
I thought it was a business to business thing.
Right. Yeah. Wholesale. So I don't understand why.
And I thought they were also just a distribution for the longest time as well.
Right, but then they started making them again.
Making the Y fronts again. She explains the factory's management structure again and reckons that she can talk to Knicker people and it back in her idea to throw some consultancy work, at least Stephen's way. Later, she's talking over designs with Stephen when Carla comes in, whose nose is put out of joint when Sarah declares that she wants to include Stephen in future business decisions. Sean and Kirk offer their backing, so Carla, who feels ambushed here, reluctantly agrees to give Stephen a voice, but no new designs as they don't have the money.
Right.
Yet, says Sarah, ominously.
Right. There's also, I mean, Kirk and Sean and Beth, they throw their, they're not saying, they're saying that they want more say. They're not saying we want Stephen here. And yet Carla, Sarah, and Stephen all take it to mean we want Stephen here. No,
because
Kirk wants to do
returns.
and yeah, like the food thing, only with knickers. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, there is a thriving business on eBay for used undies, but no.
Just because they don't disagree with Carla, Sarah thinks that they're agreeing with her.
Right.
And that's not
what is happening.
There's a third and fourth opinion out there.
Right, yes.
In the Rovers, Carla voices her concerns about Stephen to Ken and Peter. She just doesn't understand why this shyster has his eyes on getting involved in the factory. Ken points out that he's just trying to help his niece, and it's good to have diverse views, and Stephen has helped out in the past. He's helped out this week.
Right, and also, he has a penis, so his opinion must be worth more than Sarah's and Carla's.
Carla still doesn't understand what's at the bottom of this, and at the bottom of this is Stephen's penis.
Yes.
Later, Peter and Ken, who don't work at the factory, turn up at the factory to tell Carla that she's been a silly, sentimental, stupid old woman. Because Ken has talked to Stephen and reckons that he's the real deal. So
he has a penis.
So quit your fussing, bitch, and get down on the Canadian groovy train. My hero, says Carla. And then boots everyone in the pie.
Yes. They all deserve it.
Back at number 8, though, Stephen and Sarah continue their Machiavellian plotting against Carla. Shona pipes up that Sarah is staring down the barrel of a firing from Carla if she finds out.
Right.
Stephen ignores this and encourages Sarah to get some funding together. He'd love to help personally, but you know. So Sarah thinks that she could get a loan, and Shona looks on and makes a disgruntled Marge kind of noise.
Right. Yes.
That's as far as we get with that this week.
I would like for David and Shona to be Marge and Homer for Halloween this year. Please, let's bring fancy dress back to the show and have Shona and David play Homer and Marge. Because Marge is taller than Homer, so it works.
That's her hair.
No, even her body is taller than Homer.
No.
Yeah. Why are you looking this up now?
How tall is Homer Simpson? In feet. Homer stands at 5'9".
Uh-huh. And what does Marge stand at?
With her hair, she's 8'6".
Right.
But without her hair, She's 5'4" or 5'8". She's smaller than Homer.
She's 5'4" or 5'8".
Between, it says. So I think my thoughts from last week where we were kind of getting... It wasn't so much Carla being the hard ass, but they were sowing seeds of dissent between Carla and Sarah and the other members of the Knicker Factory, apart from Summer.
Which we've seen this storyline play out before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still fresh in our memories, Sarah and Carla butting heads, because of course women can't work well together.
No. The
only reason why Leanne and Debbie work well together is because Nick's penis stands between them.
Majestically. There's a statue of Nick's majestic penis erected in the bistro. That if there has to be a conversation between Debbie and Leanne, they have to do it on opposing sides of the penis.
Of the penis, yes.
And then the penis casts a final judgment.
Right, yes.
And a booming voice. Not like a Mick Jagger voice. It doesn't do that.
Is this whole penis thing just an excuse to do your Mick Jagger impersonation again?
It became it about halfway through that. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God.
So, but...
Only now Steven's involved in this one, and that's because Steven has no money, and he's trying to con money out of Sarah using flattery. I will be curious to see the silk.
Oh, right.
And when it shows up.
Yeah, because there can only be so many silk suppliers in the UK.
Right.
And he had a number for one that Carla, despite being in the UK knicker business, didn't have that number.
Right. Or
very curious.
Or is it an Italian one that somehow can miraculously ship to the UK that quickly?
It was that day is how it was going to arrive, and I don't think after Brexit that can happen.
No.
I don't think so.
No, especially with the just shortages throughout the world, of stuff, of lots of different stuff. And I can't imagine silkworms are doing well thanks to climate change.
It's not a good time for silkworms.
No. Is it ever?
Do you think Stephen came back at all for Audrey? Or did he come back and then notice that this opportunity...
Well, yes, he came back for Audrey. He came back for Audrey's money.
Oh, yes, he did. Because remember, he was very quick to try and get her to sign something last week.
Yes,
and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So now that that's not happening,
right.
Is this what's generated this interest in the factory a bit more?
He's just trying everything he possibly can because he's a sneaky bastard.
Right.
Canadian. From
Canadians.
Ohio.
Those damn Canadians and their sneakiness.
Those damn Ohioans masquerading as Canadians.
Oh, they'll say A to you and offer you some poutine.
Right.
But when they're doing that, they're stealing the money out your back pocket.
Right. And secretly drinking Schlitz, which I think is from Ohio. I can't think of anything.
It feels like it is.
It feels like Schlitz should be from Ohio.
Mm. Rolling Rock is
Pennsylvania,
isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. It's close.
Yes. Yeah.
You got nipped over the border.
Right. I do like Rolling Rock.
That was a student beer. Moving on to our next storyline this morning, it's Employee of the Month. On Monday, it's Monday, and Summer has remembered that she has a job at the factory.
Oh, that's right.
After having a job for a week before taking a week off to go to Barcelona, she's back now to say that she's back at work and then to ask for the afternoon off so she can attend a hospital appointment. Carla can't remember hiring her, thinks she's just wandered in off the street like Stephen from another storyline, so doesn't give a shit. Summer picks up a sample of fabrics and promptly starts bleeding all over them.
Fun.
She's been at work for 5 minutes, so takes a break to go see Aaron. Billy happens along on the phone. Apparently,
well, no, she's on the Rolls run, and just stops by because it's right there.
Apparently, 100.
Which is something that Fizz does all the time as well.
Apparently, 100 chickens' harnesses have been delivered to the church, so he has to go and sort that out. Which is fine because Aaron has agreed to go with Summer to her appointment because she's a child and she can't go on her own. Aaron doesn't look too happy about this though. Back at the factory, Summer's leaving early to go get a decent lunch. No one cares because no one else is working and Beth advises her to milk her illness for all it's worth. I thought that's what I was doing, says Summer. At the appointment, the nurse says everything is looking fine. Aaron looks uncomfortable, so maybe these are the fake readings that we had last week. Remember, she had her two
Right.
things. I couldn't work out why she had her two things.
Right, yeah. How is she... I'm not sure how this is supposed to work, because who is she using the fake one on? Or is she being good for 1 week and then holding on to those results?
I honestly don't know what's going on.
No.
You should know, you're diabetic.
Yeah, I don't have to test my blood, though. I'm not as diabetic. And I think she has type 1, and I have type 2.
No, she had type 2.
I thought she was a late diagnosed type 1.
Oh, I thought she was type 2.
Yeah,
I don't know the difference.
right.
Summer explains about bleeding all over the factory earlier, and the nurse suggests a flash monitor, but Summer turns it down flat. The nurse asks why, and Aaron pipes up that it might be useful. Summer tells them both to mind their own fucking business.
Right.
It's her body.
She wants to be in control of her testing, and it's like, you'd still be in control because it's still your body.
It's just Billy would know.
Right. It's just that it would happen automatically, so you couldn't lie.
The nurse smiles at Aaron as if to say, you dodged a fucking Barcelona bullet there, pal. Rather than going back to work, Summer goes home with Aaron and she gives Billy the good news. Billy asks about the flash monitor thing, but Summer lies and says that she doesn't qualify for it. Summer goes off to phone Carla to let her know that she'll be late in tomorrow, so Aaron takes the chance to advise Billy to mention to the hospital about the monitor thing because he
Right.
didn't think Summer understood what it was. Billy winks. Gotcha, he says.
Yes.
So Wednesday, Billy and Summer are on their way to Gemma and Paul's birthday in another storyline. Billy announces how happy he is that she's found Aaron, who seems a top bloke, and Summer seems suspicious that a vicar would have something nice to say about someone. During the birthday meal, Summer is struggling to eat some cake when she feels that Aaron's eyes bore into her, so she forces some down her neck. Well, he promises he wasn't keeping tabs on her, which he was.
Later they say that it was cake, but it looked like a roll. It looked like bread.
I thought it was bread as well.
Especially since the cake is a chocolate cake, which we see later.
Oh, I like a chocolate cake.
And that did not look like chocolate cake that she pinched off, because you can't really pinch off a bit of cake because it's crumbly. It has a nice crumble to it.
Oh, keep talking about cake. Summer goes off for a shite, which allows Billy to thank Aaron again for the tip about speaking to the nurse about the monitor thing.
But just the tip.
Thanks for the tip, Aaron. Turns out she's on holiday, the woman from the hospital thing. Picked up a cheap weekend to Barcelona, but will be in... Let's see what I've done there in the notes
Yes.
that I've forgotten about.
Right.
But we'll be in touch on her return. And I think I should have hit this, should I? Does it count if you're just going for an appointment?
It doesn't count because they were sitting in an office with a computer. Nobody was in a bed.
Yeah, scratch that.
You're just so keen to have another hospital scene.
Erase that from the record. Everyone pretend that you didn't hear it.
Just like Gav's Mick Jagger impersonation.
Yeah. I think it's getting better. Back at the flat, Aaron apologises for keeping his watchful eye on her, saying that he's turning into Billy, and he quickly removes his Webster's Auto's dog collar and hides it behind his back. She forgives him and then mentions how guilty she feels about the whole Barcelona thing that ended up going to that bitch at the hospital. So remembering again that she has a job, Summer, who does work at the factory, goes into the factory to ask for an advance on her wage, and Carla agrees on the proviso that she keeps it to herself, otherwise she'll have Beth camping outside her office day and night until she gets one too.
Yeah. Beth has already said that Summer's diabetes is unfair, so... It's unfair she has diabetes and has to go to medical appointments.
On Friday, in Nina's role, Summer has a surprise for Aaron. She's booked him a romantic night away at the Rape Hotel to celebrate her 18th birthday tomorrow, which no one has mentioned up to now.
No, because everybody's far more interested in Gemma and Paul's birthday.
Is breakfast included, asks Aaron. Everything's included, says Summer seductively.
Right, yes. She's like, I'm breakfast.
That's exactly how she said it. Her voice broke a couple of times as she was saying that. I'm breakfast.
I've been watching this Inventing Anna thing on the Netflix because for some reason it's nominated for an Emmy. And at one point, a character does say to another character they're making out with in front of their home, you know, the guy wants to stay over, so he says, I'll make you breakfast in the morning. And then the woman says, I'll be breakfast in the morning.
Summer and Aaron get a lovely room at the Rape Hotel. He's checking on messages from his dad, and to avoid having sex, they agree to go down to the bar. Later, back from the bar and in the room, Summer calls this whole thing weird. Good weird. Aaron worries that she's not ready, but she insists that she is, but they decide to get room service first.
Right, and talk about what the different parts of the dishes are.
Yeah, the name
For
for
room service.
the big silver dome that goes over the top of your room service, which you do get.
Right.
In some hotels, anyway.
Yes, and also in hospitals.
Oh, do I hit my...
No.
Oh. Yeah. So, Aaron's fear to the beard? Or there's something else going on here?
I think he's far too worried about his dad barging in and beating the crap out of him.
Which would happen at the Rape Hotel. Let's face it.
And you know, she's a PK, so sex is always going to be awkward
She's
for
a
her.
PK?
Yeah, preacher's kid.
Oh.
Or technically a VK, a vicar's kid.
Oh, I don't know if he's even thinking about that.
Summer.
No, I don't think Aaron's thinking about the fact that she's a...
No, she is. That's why it's
she's
awkward for her,
Oh,
and he's awkward because of his dad. And also, I think he's still a little leery about being in a relationship with this crazy girl.
Right.
You know, and if they do the deed, then
Yeah.
that erases his escape plan, which I'm sure he has.
See,
in
it
the back of
sounded
his head.
for a moment like he was doing the decent thing here, but the way that you've said it makes it sound like it isn't the decent thing. Because the
I don't know.
escape plan
Also-
doesn't sound positive.
Also, we already had teenagers losing their virginity to one another this week, so we can't have two teenage couples losing their virginity in 1 week. You got to spread them out,
It helps.
but not like that.
Oh, okay. It still helps.
They're teenagers.
How do you feel about Summer and Aaron as a couple?
I think it's the same problem that I have with the summer storylines. Anyway, it keeps going around in circles and it never gets better. And nothing ever really changes. They're on again, off again, and he's worried about her because he knows that she's being dodgy about her diabetes. Mm-hmm. You know, and so he tries to do something, and eventually he's going to apologize for sticking his neck in with Billy.
Well, that's obviously going to come out. You don't tell Billy, and then Summer
Right.
doesn't find out that that's happened. So,
Daniel Brocklebank this week said in an interview that he doesn't think Billy is aware of how serious the whole Summer thing is.
Really?
How many times does she have to pass out before Billy takes this seriously?
he's been taking it uber seriously. He said to that he was going to be in charge of her food, and he was going to be in charge
And
of
then
her.
he did it.
But then he didn't. But that means that he knows.
One would think.
He has no plausible deniability here, because he's said to her that this is important. You've got your exams. You keep on passing out. You obviously can't cope with both, so to take some of the pressure off of you, I'm going to take care of this.
Right.
And I'm going to look after this aspect of it. And
You
then,
would-
he
you
never did it.
Right, yeah. And you would think a parent like who says these things would be like, yeah, no, you obviously have too much on your plate. We're going to get you the thing that tells you automatically about your sugars to relieve you of some of that pressure. And I'm not going to hear one word against it because I'm actually going to be a parent, unlike all of the other people on the street. And sometimes when my kid says no, I say wrong answer because your health is more important than your autonomy, which occasionally happens in real life. You can't just take no for an answer from your kids all the time, parents on Coronation Street.
Right.
That's how they end up drug addicts or losing their virginity or getting pregnant or passing out constantly
So good for drama then.
or bleaching their skin or getting beaten to death.
What?
Seb,
Yeah, no, but I'm not sure how that was from him, from Abby saying no to him.
I don't know.
Or not saying no to him.
I'm just thinking of all of the things that have happened to kids on the street that shouldn't have happened.
I'd actually think that Aaron and Summer are probably quite good together if it wasn't for all this
Everything
baggage
else.
that they both bring to this obviously
Relationship.
doomed relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If they weren't both diabetics with body dysmorphia, and also Aaron's dad wasn't an abusive alcoholic that has kind of gaslit him into thinking that it's okay to get beat every once in a while because he's sad.
Yeah. They throw so much things at it to make it not work. But
Right.
I quite like the fact that he's like 3 feet taller than her. I think it works from
That's
that.
hilarious.
The way that she looks up at him
Right,
is,
yeah. It's like Shota and David in reverse.
it's kind of amusing.
Yes.
But it's lovely, kinda, right? But the fact that
Sure.
that he's an asshole to her every second scene or every third scene, I can't remember which.
Which is realistic for a teenage boy in his first relationship.
I don't know how old he is, because we know that she's turning 18, but is he 18 or
I
is he
think he's-
20 or is he 19 or how old is he?
I
We don't
think
know.
he's 18.
I don't think we know.
I think he's 18.
I don't think we know, so I think you're just guessing. But I don't think we know. So, but he's older than her,
Didn't he have
Definitely.
a birthday recently as well?
maybe.
The storyline, it takes so much just to sort of pay attention to it.
I think it could work if they were given a chance. They're not being given a chance because there is a million things they've got to sort out
Right.
before they're ready to have a relationship together.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Moving on to our next storyline this morning is Tim's mum about the house.
Yay! No, actually, boo. Because she and Tim are very mean to Yasmeen this week.
Yeah, I think Tim's mum has always had the potential to be like this. I think she's shown signs
I
of it.
think Tim was way more harsh than Tim's mum
Oh, well, we'll
to
get
Yasmeen,
it.
but we'll get to it.
On Monday, Yasmeen is about to head out after a restless night and is disgusted to learn that Alya and Zeedan are picking up Homeless Stu's case files. Zeedan tries to explain that they're doing it for her and they have nothing to lose because if he's guilty, well, then they know that he's guilty. But if he's not guilty, then she hasn't made a terrible mistake and an error in judgment.
Correct.
At the law office, everything has been delivered. There's police files, there's tapes, there's paella recipes. Z and Alya start working their way through the boxes, and Alya finds a description of how Charlie was killed. She thinks maybe they need to get an expert to go through this after all, but then Z finds the tapes. And they listen to one where Homeless Stu matter-of-factly admits to killing Charlie. Alya thinks this is damning, despite Homeless Stu quite clearly explaining that he gave a false confession, so this should not be news to them.
Right, yeah. But
I think it's the
just,
manner in which he delivered it.
Right, because he's very kind of monotone and stuff, which should raise alarm bells for them.
Yeah. He sounds like a man who's been forced to eat crusts
Yes.
and
With no mayonnaise.
whose chair has been pulled away from him every time he's tried to sit down.
Right.
In comes Adam to see how they're doing, and he instantly spots that Homeless Stu was interviewed for 10 hours straight.
Which is illegal.
Z doesn't understand why this is a problem, so Adam has to explain. Then he notices a tape is missing. If the master is also missing, you crazy kids might actually be onto something, says Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
So the gang and Scoop go back to see an angry Yasmeen who was nonplussed by 10-hour interviews and missing tapes. So Alya asks her to go with her to speak to Homeless Stu later about it, and then she can make up her mind about whether he's worth helping or not. She has a 6-pack of visiting orders just itching to be used. But Alya eventually goes on her own and she tells Homeless Stu about the tapes. Tape 12, he's claiming he's innocent. Tape 13 is missing. Tape 14 is his confession. And this sets Stu off on more crusty reveries about bursting for a shite and then falling asleep and the cops pushing him over. And then Yasmeen comes in. Alya leaves him to it. Yasmeen wants to know what he did to poor Charlie, given that she was drenched in his DNA. Oh, God.
Which, again, you know,
Ugh.
30 years ago.
Hold on, wait.
30 years ago, who's testing for DNA 30 years ago and getting successful
in
results?
the 90s?
It's early 90s.
Yeah, we're not talking about the 60s here. This is
No.
like the
but
90s.
I mean, DNA testing didn't really get started until 86. So by the early 90s, it's not exactly a perfected science.
It still exists, though.
Right, but barely. And also, how could even nobody has that much semen to cover a whole human body.
I don't think he was literally drenched. Or she was literally drenched
Well, it
in DNA.
says that, his DNA was all over her body. That would imply it's spreading all over her body. And, I did read Stephen King's The Outsider, so I know that supernatural creatures can have that much semen, but not human people.
Well, maybe a Homeless Stu's just packing a lot. Who knows?
Maybe he's a supernatural monster.
It would explain his hair
It
and
would.
those baby blue eyes.
Right. And his perfect teeth.
Homeless Stu describes his affair and lots of sex, which seems to turn Yasmeen on a bit. The truth will set you free, she says. Yasmeen promises to stand by Homeless Stu if he tells her the truth and confesses his guilt, but he refuses to take the blame again, so she leaves, but as she does, he shouts on her to speak to his old lawyer, one Norman Hepworth. And why is it called Norman Hepworth?
Why not?
And why Homeless Stu shouting the name Homeless Norman Hepworth to Yasmeen? Why does it sound so weird? I don't know. It just sounds.
It's only weird to you, but you do make Jagger
just like someone
impersonations all the time.
somebody standing up shouting Norman Hepworth in the middle of our room. Maybe it should happen more often.
Maybe.
Anyway, it brings us on to this week's hard debate. How much would you pay to never hear how Homeless Stu's DNA was found all over Charlie's body again? Would you pay £0 to £5, £6 to £10, £11 to £999,999, or over £1 million?
I think it was over £1 million for me.
And the voting was thus: £6 to £10, 8.9%. £11 to £999,999, 15.6%. 0 to £5, 17.8%. Some people. And over £1 million was 57.8% of the vote. A resounding. The nation has spoken. That's how much they would spend to never hear how Charlie's body was covered from head to toe in Homeless Stu's DNA. Back at Speed Dial, Yasmeen mentions the old lawyer to the gang in Scoob, but Yasmeen doesn't want to be lied to by another man and doubts that this Norman Hepworth is still a lawyer or even alive. But she's mid-sentence and Zeedan has already looked him up and found him. He's literally round the corner.
Literally.
So back home, Norman Hepworth takes his seat in Yasmeen's front room and explains his relationship with Homeless Stu, calling him the one that got away, who was done by one of those dodgy false confessions that were so popular in the 80s. He also tells him that Lennox was rotten to the core, planting evidence and forcing confessions. Yasmeen, who apparently hasn't been paying attention, asks if he thinks Homeless Stu is innocent. Norman Hepworth has no doubt. Later, Yasmeen is still confused. Zeedan gets a call from PC Tinker letting him know that Homeless Stu will be out and back on the streets tomorrow. Alya lets Yasmeen...
Again, well done, PC Tinker, for not following police protocol and being a crooked copper.
It was when he phones and Zeedan says, "That was Craig." And Yasmeen goes, "Oh, what did he want?" More people do that than I think we know about. So, Alya tells Yasmeen that all those panic attacks she's been having and sleepless nights, they come from knowing deep down that Homeless Stu, while a bit of a shagger in his day, is innocent.
Right.
On Wednesday, Yasmeen's sleeping on the couch for some reason when she has a waking nightmare about Homeless Stu and Tim's dad. Tim's dad makes a reappearance. Ah!
Yes, apparently his reappearance had viewers screaming in terror on
Just
their
like me,
couches.
right there.
Did you scream in terror while you were watching that episode?
I did get a little fright.
Really?
I'd been watching Friday the 13th, so it was
Well, there is that.
My nerves were very jangly at that point.
Right, yeah. I mean, how many times does Yasmeen have to have a dream about Tim's dad before it just becomes like, do we really have to do this again?
Zeedan wakes her and tells her she's having a bad dream, but then he pulls his face off, and he's actually Tim's mum.
Oh no!
The nightmare has really taken the wind out of Yasmeen's sails. Homeless Stu is out today and will likely end up Homeless Stu again, and she can't work out what she wants to do about it, or anything else for that matter. Her mind is fucked. Later, Alya's going through the case notes at the law office and hasn't found any evidence of any blood being found on Homeless Stu or in his car. Adam thinks she might be onto something, impressed at her dedication to clear Homeless Stu's name. It's not just him she's doing this for, she says.
Correct.
At work, Yasmeen's like a half-shut knife, and while talking to Roy, ends up dropping a tray of glasses when she thinks of him and his pink pinny again.
Right.
He helps her clean up the mess, and they talk about what's going on with her. And she says she's haunted by Tim's dad. Roy can understand. Yasmeen thinks that Homeless Stu is likely innocent, but he confessed, which makes her weary. He explains that...
Weary or leery?
Wary, I think is what I meant to say.
Ah.
He explains, but thank you for drawing attention to that.
Sure.
He explains that Alya and Zeedan are convinced of his innocence. She's not sure what their motive is. Roy thinks that she's their motive, and they want to prove that she didn't make a bad choice by letting Homeless Stu back in their life. Talked round by Roy, Yasmeen goes to the jail and picks up Homeless Stu and his wee plastic bag. They go back to the community garden, and she promises to do...
Where's his guitar?
She promises to do everything she can to help him put his life back together, but there'll be no getting your hole for the foreseeable.
No.
She believes him now. He's got a place at a hostel for the time being, which may be for the best. And they go to Speed Dial and are welcomed back into the bosom of the Kirk, or the Pakistani street restaurant. Alya brings them up to speed with her investigations, and they have a cold case solicitor lined up to help. Yasmeen says that for reasons best known to herself, she needs Homeless Stu to tell his daughter that he's challenging his conviction, and he has to hear it from him.
She has to hear it from him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why this has to be a thing, but anyway, it's a thing. So Homeless Stu goes back to the nice house, and this time he rings the bell, and the door is answered by a little girl who is quickly ushered away by Bridget. Homeless Stu realises that this is his granddaughter, and Bridget shuts the door on him again. He sits on the curb outside, and so she comes out to hear what he's got to say. He says he never killed no one, and he's challenging his conviction, and she seems surprised by this. We learn that the little girl is called Eliza. Homeless Stu doesn't want her to grow up thinking that her homeless pops is a monster. So,
Which she didn't, because she doesn't even know that he exists.
Bridget looks like she's beginning to melt on this when Mrs. Homeless Stu arrives, ready to read him the riot act. He tells his missus that Bridget has a right to make up her own mind on him, and he has a right to see his grandkid. Mrs. Homeless Stu agrees not to stand in the way of that, providing he drops his protest against his conviction.
Which is suspicious.
And not put them through another trial again.
Yeah, that's suspicious. Her saying, no, you need to drop all this. If you want a relationship with her, then you need to drop all this. Well, if that's all that it took, then why didn't you let him have a relationship with her to begin with? Right?
I don't know, you said that too quickly. I think, Mrs. Homeless Stu was my first guess. Mm-hmm. Revenge.
Right.
But I still think it's Lennox.
Maybe it was Lennox and Mrs. Homeless Stu.
Well, it could be.
Maybe they were in cahoots. Maybe that's who Lennox was having the affair with, was Mrs. Homeless Stu.
Oh, what a tangled web. Homeless Stu goes back to the street and tells Alya, Zeedan, Yasmeen and Adam. He sounds like he's going to clear his name for Eliza. And then Dev and Bernie wander over from another storyline and get all NIMBY on Homeless Stu's ass, outraged that they'll have a murderer on their doorstep and demanding that he moves on.
Tracy!
Yasmeen takes up at this, tells Homeless Stu to get his things. He's moving back in just to basically piss off Dev.
Right. And why not?
On Friday, Kelly's out for a jog when she bumps into a repentant Homeless Stu who only wants to talk about himself. He wears Kelly down and she comes round, telling him that she knows that he's not a killer. She knows what it's like and tells him to get on with his life. At home, Alya's worried about Homeless Stu who's gone a-wandering, and just at that, he comes in, grateful for the support that everyone in the house has given him, and he offers to cook them dinner by way of thank you. Stu and Kelly are chatting more friendly-like when Dev, Tim and Tim's mum descend to throw rotten vegetables at Homeless Stu, Dev even demanding that Stu leaves town, just like that Sparks song. Stu and Kelly protest their innocence. He's going nowhere, and Tim's mum has a fit and runs off to grass this up to Yasmeen. She's very much the won't anyone think of the children and all this.
Right, yeah.
Oh, throwing her arms up in the air and running off to find Yasmeen to tell Yasmeen.
Right, yeah, that Yasmeen's being dumb for letting him back in the house.
Right. Tim's mum and Tim descend on speed dial to shout at Yasmeen for being an idiot, but Yasmeen insists that it was a miscarriage of justice and they're going to prove that Homeless Stu is innocent. And if you don't like it, Tim's mum, you can suck on my big old hairy balls, says Yasmeen.
Well done, Yasmeen.
Homeless Stu's in a great mood as he cooks dinner for everyone. He goes to answer the door and signs for a package for Bernie that's been delivered wrongly for some reason.
Right.
He hands it to her and she, Dev, Tim and Tim's mum descend again to shout at him. Yasmeen tells everyone to fuck off.
Right. She's like, how dare you sign for my package and then immediately hand it to me? We never know what that package holds either.
It could be the head of this Charlie character, for all we know. No, it's Bernie saying, "Oh, just because you signed a package for me, do you mean that I should forgive you?" What? No. Just take your fucking package. Inside, Yasmeen has taken the views of her neighbours quite hard, but she thinks of Roy and his pink pinny and starts to feel better. She decides to cancel a trip with Kathy that no one knew about, but Homeless Stu asks her not to, as he would feel bad. She says he couldn't stop her or make her if he tried, so I'm not sure how that was left. Is Yasmeen going on this trip or not? Who knows? Who cares? And that's as far as we get
And
with
does that mean that we get a brief glimpse of Kathy?
No, she's gone.
Probably not.
They were going to... Were they going to Scotland? I think they might have been going to Scotland.
That's where everybody goes, isn't it?
For
Scotland.
a wee trip? Sure.
Or Barcelona.
I know that they have to do this because it's a show and it's fictional and everyone's motives and beliefs can kind of change on the changing of the wind. But everyone's hypocrisy here to Homeless Stu is just... It's
ridiculous.
It's so obviously ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous. And he's not, like I said last week, he's not wrong in how this happens every single time someone is accused of something on the street. Because let's all remember, all these people thought Yasmeen genuinely killed Tim's dad for the longest time. And that she was a crazy alcoholic person.
Well, you know, out of all of them, Tim thought that.
Right.
Tim.
Right. So for him to be like saying to Yasmeen, I can't believe you're being this naive and dumb and believing a man again, is just shut the fuck up, dude. Yeah, it's ridiculous how hypocritical these people are.
Mm-hmm. But the sight
all the time.
The sight of Tim's mum literally running away to track Yasmeen down.
Right, and to tell her how dumb she is.
She needs to go back to wherever she was. Because she's not living anywhere near them, I don't think, is she? Oh, she has to be some... I guess a little near.
She's working... She's working in the kebab shop again.
Was she? Tim's mum?
Yeah, I think so.
When was she ever working in the kebab shop?
She was working there for a while to help Yasmeen out. And remember, she owns part of it. Or she used to own part of it, and then she signed it back over.
The kebab shop?
Not the kebab shop. Speed doll.
Oh. Because we never saw Tim's mum in one of those cyan uniforms with Tim's mum embroidered on the back of it. More's a pity. It seems, though, that there was only really... The whole point of Homeless Stu going to tell his daughter is to see that he's got a granddaughter.
Right.
There is no motivation for Yasmeen saying to Homeless Stu, this is what you've got to do. Because they've already disowned him. So why
well,
would him...
I think she's really invested, because remember, she's the one who tracked her down to begin with. I think she's really invested in Homeless Stu having a relationship with his daughter. Like, she's obsessed with it. So this is, I think, her way of still trying to do that.
Alya seems to have her investigative boots on, coming up with theories about the blood, which I noticed that she called her blood theory later.
Yes, she did.
Which was quite funny.
Yeah.
Alya's got a theory.
About blood.
Adam has been very accommodating with us and
letting them use Imran's desk.
Right. And encouraging them.
Right. And occasionally helping them out randomly, even though he insisted he wouldn't do that.
If I didn't know any better, I would have said that Adam was trying it on a little bit with Alya. But hey.
No.
Moving on to our next storyline this morning is Bernie's evil twin. On Wednesday. This was funny. There's a lot of stuff that was funny this week. This was funny though. On Wednesday, Evelyn's at Dev's blackmailing him as best she can to get triple time out of him for covering while he goes to an accountant's meeting or something. And meanwhile, it's Paul and Gemma's birthday party at the bistro in another storyline. But Bernie... Oh no, it's in this storyline. But Bernie is in Dev's looking to get some extra hours at him from the corner shop. And he's all like, no can do, sweet cheeks, because he'd already drawn up the rota. Dejected, Bernie leaves, and Evelyn scorns Dev for not being more flexible and offering to see what he could do. And Dev sucks a thoughtful tooth. Because Evelyn's like, you could at least have pretended to look at the rota.
Yeah. You could have been at least nice. And it's very harsh for Evelyn, of all people, to tell someone you could have been nicer
You're
about
being too
that.
harsh, yeah.
Yeah.
At the party, Gemma is licking her plate clean, literally.
Yes, she is.
Chesney does his best to bring down the party mood by breathing and looking at people. Bernie finally arrives and Gemma has hidden some birthday sausages down her tits for some reason. Bernie's gifts to Paul and Gemma are coupons for a free kebab, which Chesney is sure are counterfeit. The party and Chesney head to the Rovers, leaving Gemma behind with Bernie to ask if her mom is having money problems, thinking that she was late so she didn't have to buy the full meal. Bernie denies it. Gemma tells her not to worry about buying Joseph's new uniform, but Bernie is determined. And I don't know, had we heard that this was something that she was doing? This feels like it just came out of the blue, but it's a thing that she's determined to buy this uniform.
I seem to recall last time we had Joseph and his amazing Technicolor falling
School
apart
uniform, yeah.
school sweater, her saying that she was going to buy his next school uniform.
Because Granny Linda sent the money,
Right.
but she's like, fuck Granny Linda, I'm buying this.
Right. Like, well, she and Granny Linda have this agreement that they're both going to help out.
Right.
Right. I still don't understand why Bernie is skint, though, because she has 2 jobs and she lives with 2 other people who have 2 jobs each.
It's just the perpetual poverty and misery of
Right.
the Cod House.
Right, yes.
In the Rovers, Billy is so pissed he's coming on to Paul. Bernie comes in from doing a shite and asks Daisy if they have any cleaning jobs going. Daisy knocks her back, but Dev's ears prick up. He asks Bernie for a private word as he has a little something for her, which she interprets as a request for his hole, so she scuds his jaw. My mom's not a prostitute, shouts Gemma. What'd you do that for, says Dev, announcing that he was going to offer her a cleaning job. Bernie laughs up the faux pas, relieved that she'll be bringing even more money in now.
That will just disappear mysteriously
Right.
into the ether because they can't even afford hot dogs in that house.
On Friday at the Quad House, Joseph is running late for his sign language lessons. Chesney has learned 2 thumbs up so far. Well done, Chesney. Bernie confirms to everyone that she's still on track to get Joseph his new uniform, and what with this new high-powered job of cleaning up Kirk's shits in the Rovers, hopefully the bog, it should be sooner rather than later.
Well, no, because she's not working in the Rovers.
Oh no, it's
Cleaning
Dev's.
the bathroom. She's working for Dev.
Dev's.
She's cleaning
Why's-
Dev's house.
So why's Kirk doing a shit in Dev's?
Nope.
That doesn't work anymore.
No. So why did you write it?
Bernie comes back from the town with Joseph's school gear and some stuff for herself. She's got herself a fancy blue blazer.
Which is ugly.
That's so
as
awful.
Sin.
It looks like she's a game show host.
The 1980s movie Working Girl called...
No, say it properly.
The 1980s
Thank you.
movie Working Girl called... Bernie, they'd like their costuming back, please.
She claimed she was given it by a mysterious assistant who said there was nothing to pay and apologised for the confusion. And Bernie claims that she said that she thinks that they mistake her for someone else. At
Right,
this
yeah.
point.
She's like, no, I think you got me mistaken for someone else. And that the store clerk said, no, this is for you.
So you nicked it then, says Gemma. Bernie says it was an honest mistake and it's a gift from the universe or something. When she has the house to herself, Bernie tries on the blazer, which makes her speak in a posh accent.
Oh, and then they automatically accuse her of stealing the uniform as well.
Right.
And it's like, you people are so mean to this woman.
But no one's outraged. They're all kind of just resigned. Oh yeah, she stole it. Oh well.
Right.
Although Chesney says, well, you need to take it back.
Right, yeah. Chesney's outraged, but Chesney is always outraged.
Right. There's a knock at the door, and it's a woman who doesn't look unlike Bernie, calling her a thief. This seems to be the woman who was supposed to get the blazer. Bernie goes to throw her out when they realise how alike the two of them look. The woman found Bernie because Bernie left her purse in the store because of course she did or something.
Right, yeah, because she was in a hurry to leave.
She demands the blazer, which Bernie reluctantly gives back, calling the woman a slag or something probably.
I'm
but there's
glad
something
they
else that
address it,
happens
though.
with the purse that I think I missed.
I'm glad they address how on earth did you find me?
Even though the reason is unbelievable.
That she left her purse behind. It's not unbelievable that she left her purse behind. Although that's not her purse, it's just her wallet. She left her wallet behind. But so many times things like this happen and they don't address it. So even if the reason is kind of weird, at least they address it.
But then she looks at well, I'm calling it a purse. That's what she looks at, and she seems. It seems like it's not hers.
No, it is hers. When the woman leaves, She's checking it to make sure that the woman didn't steal anything from
is that
her.
what she's doing? Okay.
Yes, because that's exactly what Bernie would have done.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Gemma, Joseph, and Chesney come back, and Bernie explains what happened. Joseph thinks it's her doppelganger, and then it seems that the woman has gone off with Joseph's blazer as well as the...
Right, I noticed her taking both bags.
You did?
Yeah.
I didn't. Joseph now thinks it's her evil twin. But now Ches and Gemma think Bernie stole the stuff and simply returned them, and now she's lying about it.
Right.
Joseph believes her, but he's 10.
But because that's what adult women do. Right.
In the Rovers, Bernie's complaining to Dev about Gemma and Ches, thinking that she's a tea leaf. Dev thinks it's something that she would do, but wonders if it's too weird a situation even for Bernie.
Right, and he says he's careful to say would have done, not that it's something that you would do now because you're a better person because I shagged you.
Right. Back at the quad house, Gemma and Ches have got the 3-year-old babies down to sleep. Bernie promises to get the uniform tomorrow and is shocked when they still don't believe her or the evil twin story. Joseph tries to blame the evil twin on why he hasn't done his homework, and this ends up with them all waking up the quads.
And laughing. Yeah, it's hilarious how they treat those quads as if they're all still babies.
Right.
When we can see them not being babies because Gemma brings one of them out at one point. The one with the hearing loss. Allard, yes. It seems that...
And she mentions Cleo, I think,
yes,
as well.
they mention Cleo a lot, and she brings out Allard a lot, and nobody remembers the name of the other two.
Frankie and...
Josephine.
Keith.
All famously Welsh names.
Particularly Frankie. Frankie.
And Josephine.
I'm enjoying this. The woman who plays I don't think she's been named yet.
Right.
The thief. Not
Right.
the thief, because no one's a thief here.
No.
The woman who's
Well,
blazer...
she's now a thief because she stole Joseph's uniform.
Right. Which I think we'll find out was a mistake.
Well, of
Sure.
course, but she still took it.
She played Bob in Blackadder, and she also played Natalie Horrocks' sister, Debs, in Coronation Street 20 years ago.
Right.
So when
Because
it was
there are
announced
only
that,
a limited amount of actors in the UK.
when it was announced that she was coming back, everyone thought, well, why is Natalie Horrocks? Why is her sister coming back? There's no reason for her sister
Right.
to come back. But then it transpired that she's playing a completely different character.
Right.
She's changed somewhat, but you can still see the 20 years ago version of herself in her face.
Yes.
But she's the same height as Bernie.
Right.
And they have kind of the same
Same
sort
hair
of facial
color,
structure.
same nose.
And I don't know if the fact is that they just look alike, or are they actually related to each other?
Right. Are they secretly twins? Or actually they would be secretly triplets.
Triplets, because Bernie mentions
Her twin brother Mike.
Mike.
Yeah.
Mike Winters.
Bernie and Mike Winters.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they're playing it, but the fact that she's back in it, in whichever capacity, I'm enjoying. And I'm enjoying the fact that Bernie seemingly has concocted. I mean, we know that she's telling the truth, but if we didn't, this is something that Bernie would concoct.
I don't think it is.
This ridiculous story of evil twins. Yeah, I think she probably would.
I don't think she would. I like Joseph in all of this. That's my favorite
is
part.
Super in it.
Because he's got great comedic timing there and can say the word doppelganger.
Right.
Which his dad has no idea what that is.
Just gives him 2 thumbs up.
Sure.
Yeah, Joseph is great.
Does he know how to sign doppelganger? That's the question.
They're still doing this, and
I'm happy about that.
And when they're not in it for a while, and you suddenly see Gemma in the pub, and she's thanking someone, and she does the sign for thank you, it kind of it takes a little second to remember that that's what she's doing. But then when you see them and they're all around about the house, and Alice's nowhere to be seen, and they're all
Still doing it.
Still
Yeah.
doing it.
It's nice. I like it.
Yeah.
I've been noticing that a lot of shows and movies now are doing more of that, especially with deafness, but also with blindness and some other things, just making people with disabilities more visible, and I think that's great. And I especially like the way that it is incorporated here, where it's a young child And even when he's not in the room, the family is still signing to one another.
Right.
Because that's what you would do.
Well, especially when you're learning.
Right.
All right. I'm excited to see where this is going to go, though. I think that there is lots of comedy that can be mined from this, and I think they're doing a pretty good job of keeping this light.
Of setting it up and not
and I love
displaying too much.
Love Bernie in the mirror saying, "Oh, that's a nice blazer."
Right. It's not.
And you're not sure which is the real accent that Jane Hazelgrove has, and then she's using. You could be fooled either way.
Yeah. And then the other woman going, "This is a limited edition, blah, blah, blah." And it's funny because her purse also has the name of this fake designer on it.
Right.
And it's hideous as well. But, just, yeah, I'm amused by this. And I'm glad that the family is back.
And I'm glad
Except for Chesney.
that their money worries are being played for laughs at the moment and not just misery.
Right. Although it's still ridiculous.
Well,
that they talk about how much money problems this one. The fact that they ask Joseph what he wants for his tea and he says Frankfurters, because of course a 10-year-old child says Frankfurters.
Well, it sounds like fart, so I can believe it.
And they're like, "Oh, no, sorry, we don't have any more and we can't afford to go and buy any."
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
They're hot dogs.
Right.
They're the bits that are swept up at the end. They're cheap.
They're like $3 a pack of 8. Come on now.
Our penultimate storyline this morning is Dylan Goes Electric. On Friday, in Nina's roles, Dylan...
Well done. Well done, because that's a deep cut there.
If only he did go electric in the storyline. That's where it falls down. In Nina's roles, Dylan is dumbstruck when James the footballer walks in. Glenda tells him to go say hello, but Dylan is too shit for it. Also, it's Dylan's last day in Weatherfield, and at this short notice, Sean contemplates maybe arranging something to say cheerio.
Right.
Well done, Sean.
Yes.
Glenda comes into the Rovers to speak with Sean, who's now been called into work. In comes Lawrence, who oddly skips Glenda's questions about his family. And more importantly, Glenda has an idea for Dylan's farewell. Lawrence has enjoyed watching Sean work when Sean gets a message from Mary telling him to be at the bistro at 7 for a major Dylan surprise. Sean is worried what Glenda and Mary will have organised for a shy teenage boy.
Right, yes.
More than him is what they've done. More than you, Sean. I would be careful to complain too much about that.
Right.
Glenda and Mary's, they wind up Sean with the threat of a cabaret and karaoke at the bistro, but the surprise is that James has turned up to have a kickabout outside with Dylan and some of his mates.
While they wait for their food.
So Dylan has had a fabulous time kicking a ball back and forth with a reasonably famous local footballer, but he admits to Sean that he doesn't want to go home. London is fucking awful, and his mum is a boot, and he has a much better time here with Sean. Good God, says everyone. And that's as far as we get with that.
And he seems to have more friends here on the street than he does back home in that London.
Well, he keeps on dropping little names. He's doing this with Max, and he was going away here with so-and-so and all this sort of stuff.
Right,
so.
and Max and Liam were there at his going away do.
Max was?
Yeah, from the back. So I don't know
okay.
if it was actually Max, but I think we're expected to believe that was Max.
Okay. A stand-in Max. Max's body double.
Max is still standing.
Right. I think we tried... the show carefully tried to skip over this, but it kind of stood out like a sore thumb in the pub when Glenda says to Lawrence, "Oh, we never heard too much about your family." Mm-hmm. And Lawrence just ignores it and looks away. So
he also has a deep, dark secret. Yay.
When was the last time we had a character who didn't have a deep, dark secret join the show?
Well, we had Phil with 2 L's, whose only deep, dark secret is that his mom was a bitch, but...
His mom was fabulous.
She was a fabulous bitch. But, you know...
That wasn't deep, dark.
But everybody kept saying, "Oh, it's gonna come out. Phil's gonna have a deep, dark secret. Everybody hold fast. Phil's gonna come out with a deep, dark secret."
And everybody said it exactly like that. I remember me singing that.
It never happened, and I was relieved that it never happened. And then they pull a 180 and give every single other person who comes into the show.
Because Frank had one. He was a
deep, dark secret.
He hated kids.
was also a bully.
That was his deep dark
And
secret.
we know, we don't know exactly what it is, but it's being implied that Leo has a deep dark secret. Spider, deep dark secret. Stu, deep dark secret. So, I mean, this is
Par for the course, really.
par for the course.
You have to have a deep dark secret.
Right,
But it was nice in the show just to remind us of that.
right.
That the deep dark... Aaron had one. His dad.
Right, yes, Dad beats him up.
This one is also family-based.
Right,
It's
yeah,
good that
because of course it is.
We can file this one along with Aaron's as a family-based
Didn't they
deep
sort
dark
of
secret.
implied the Undertaker had a deep dark secret, but his deep dark secret turned out to be he has a really nice house, which is really big and where he and Eileen should be living.
Yeah, and he didn't enter with that. That was kind of discovered later on.
Right, yeah. Well, none of them enter with it. It's just kind of implied.
Yeah, I think the Undertaker was established long enough that was just made up on the hoof.
Yeah, because remember, like, there was all this speculation because he says that he didn't always have a great relationship with his dad when he's talking to Todd. And it's like, oh, you know, a deep, dark secret from the Undertaker's past is going to show up. And it turns out that he was bullied. That's his deep, dark secret. And he has a big, massive house, which is where he and Eileen should be living.
And he's a nice guy.
Yeah,
Oh, and he's got feeling in the back. And Robert's somewhere, but we're not sure where.
correct.
Moving on to our final storyline this morning. This is the dusty contents of Aadi's wallet. On Monday, Aadi goes to visit Kelly early in the morning. She goes to make him coffee, but they're out of milk. So
Oh, no.
he suggests that they go to Roy's. They seem close, but not boyfriend-girlfriend close at this point. In Nina's roles, Kelly offers to test Aadi for his driving test that's coming up this week. She's holding his hand, but they're still not boyfriend-girlfriend at this point. They arrange to meet later at the bistro. So they met at the Rose Gold flat and then met at the Nina's Rolls and then met at the bistro. But nothing really has happened in between times. At the bistro, Aadi has been trying to talk Kelly back into liking Homeless Stu, but she's not up for it. Meanwhile, Ryan is kind of being flirted at by a woman who works for the Gazette. She's trying to push a promotion for a honeymoon giveaway thing that the newspaper's running. Kelly catches wind of this, and she and Aadi pretend to be engaged. Kelly's channeling her inner Rachel from Friends here.
How many times are they going to do this sort of competition? Because remember, this is not the first time that there's been a couples competition on the show.
No, it's not.
Where two people pretend to be in a couple to win whatever.
A fantastic prize.
Right. And end up getting married anyway.
Well, I'm thinking of Mary and Norris mostly
Right.
here.
Yeah, but didn't it happen? There was also there was a competition, I think, very similar to this, where there was like trivia about the couples at the Rovers.
Oh, Tracy and Steve had there was a Mr. and Mrs. thing that was
Right.
running at the Rovers, yeah.
And Tracy got mad because she and Steve lost and somebody who was just barely a couple won.
Oh, it was Paul and Billy that won it, wasn't it?
Maybe. Yeah.
Oof, that's gone back a while.
Which made Tracy doubly mad because she lost to the gays.
Right.
Because Tracy is secretly homophobic.
Or Poovs, as I think she called them. They're entering this competition so they can win a honeymoon
Yeah, a trip to Mexico.
that Kelly could pay for 100 times over with the money that she's getting from Rick the Chin. But anyway.
Hasn't she spent all of that?
Oh, she's given
Given
that
it
all
all
away?
Who knows?
The journal directs them to an application form online. Seems that they have to make a video for the readers to vote on. Then they're going to do that later in the week. After she goes, Aadi assumes Kelly has been joking about this, but she doesn't see what they have to lose, and they can fake a marriage and then get divorced or whatever. Or they can stall them and release ferrets in the church or something. She encourages him to live in the moment.
Yes.
And he agrees, so she gets him to fill out the application form. Well done, Kelly. On Wednesday at the Rose Gold flat, Kelly has learned that the couples quiz is tomorrow. Aadi doesn't know what that is, so Kelly explains the rules of Mr. and Mrs. to him. So they go through a practice run. Aadi asks her who would play him in the movie of his life. Riz Ahmed, she says, which he wholeheartedly agrees with. When was Kelly the happiest she's ever been, he asks, and then suggests maybe it was when her dad died and she inherited all that lovely cash that could be used to pay for this holiday legitimately. Sickened by this, she goes to throw him out, but he has already sensed that he's fucked up and he removes himself without complaint. I thought that was hilarious. I'll just go then.
Yes.
And she's standing furious at the sink rinsing out a mug and he's already gone. It just made me laugh. Later, they bump into each other outside and he apologises, saying that he'll never be so lucky to have a better fake fiancée than her. She agrees, calls him a loser and apologises for overreacting. And she reckons that he was right. She can't remember many fun memories. It's about time we started creating some then, says Aadi, who is a fucking delight.
Yes.
Back at Aadi's now, and Dev isn't happy about the two of them being friends or something. Not using coasters.
Right. Yeah. Like all of a sudden, both Asha and Dev, who, let's remember, at one point, Dev allowed Kelly to live in his house.
Yes.
Both of them all of a sudden think that Kelly is once again a bad influence and not somebody that Aadi should be hanging out with. Mm-hmm. When, let's remember, they've been hanging out together quite a bit recently and nobody has accused her of murder or theft or anything recently.
Why did she leave them? She left them because she was accused of something. Right,
yeah. Like, Asha got mad that Dev allowed her to stay there because on Nina's behalf, when Nina was like, I don't fucking care.
That's right. Back at Aadi's now.
Because let's remember, Asha and Nina are a couple.
Oh, we keep on forgetting that.
A couple of what? Who knows?
A couple of jolly nice fellows.
Sure.
Next question to practice is him asking her what her magic number is. She tells him to go first, and he pretends to count on his fingers and then arrives at a big fat 0, further informing us that he's had a condom in his wallet since year 8, so it's not for the want of trying. Laughing, she admits that her number is also 0, and she suggests that they lie and tell the competition that they were each other's first. What kind of competition is this? Or we could, do it for reals, he suggests. So that's what they do.
Right, yes. No awkwardness whatsoever between these two.
Her wee face kind of lights up and she moves back a little bit, her eyebrows go up, and this, I've watched this scene several times because it was just so brilliantly done.
And they're so adorable together.
He's so charismatic. The character just...
Without trying.
No, it's effortless. He's so charming and he's so charismatic. And even when he's bumbling and when he says the wrong thing, he draws attention to that and that makes it endearing. And, and she's lapping it up. And she's giving back the charm as well.
Right. This is chemistry right here that we're seeing.
Seriously.
This is take notes, everyone else. Other young people who are attached.
And even after this, against all popular belief, rather than it being rubbish, they're thrilled to have learnt that their first time was brilliant. They really enjoyed themselves.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Right. And they make plans to do it again soon. And then to top it all off, Aadi presents her with his mother's engagement ring, which he knows that she'll take care of, and she can return it later after this whole competition thing's over. She slides it onto her finger, and they both look pretty chuffed with themselves. This whole bit was just wonderful.
Yes.
On Friday at home, Aadi's pretending that he's getting ready for his driving test, but he's actually revising for this couple's quiz online stuff. Asha comes down to accuse Aadi of going through her room and warns him to stay the fuck out. Back at the Rose Gold flat, Gary's intrigued by the amount of time that Kelly's spending with Aadi, and she says that she's only given him moral support for his driving test. He's happy so long as she's happy. And she's happy.
Yes, she is.
Kelly and Aadi are at the Rape Hotel for their couples quiz, which the journalist is conducting in front of a camera, filming it for the online audience. The journal hopes that Aadi and Kelly win. Again, this is very much like the Mary and Norris thing, where Vic Reeves was very much wanting them to win it.
And then proceeds to ask questions that were not any of the ones that they've practiced.
Right.
And also slightly invasive and not fun.
Yeah, Aadi puts on his headphones first while Kelly gets her questions, and they're going through the answers, and it turns out that Aadi has done shit. He's got none right, and she's only got one right. But they're asking, like, how many kids do you want, and stuff like that. And Kelly, at this point, is like, I don't think this is a great question to be asking people. And the journalist says, like, this is just a bit of fun.
Right.
Just a bit of fun, me asking you these really personal questions.
Right.
Aadi stands up and makes a passionate plea that it doesn't matter what kind of crisps Kelly prefers. He knows that Kelly is the one for him because his heart just lights up every time she walks into the room.
Right. And she doesn't want any kids, and he says too. And she says she doesn't want any kids because of the way she grew up, which is valid.
The Gazette woman thinks this is brilliant, and the readers of the Gazette, people like Dev, remember, We'll lap this up. Aadi and Kelly rush home just in time for Aadi to scoot off to his driving test. Mary can't believe that her little munchkin is sitting his test today.
Her little Aadi Waddy.
And she tells him where to find the toilets at the test centre. As they
Right,
drive
well,
off,
to go next door to the shop, next door to the test center. Those are where the good bathrooms are.
as they drive off, Asha spots Kelly's ring.
And the tester says she's not wrong, but not like that.
Thank you. Kelly says it was her mum's. Laura the Chins.
Yes.
Aadi gets home and does the old pretend that he failed but actually he passed thing. Dev laps it up. He loves the old switcheroo and gives him a car because that time that Dev had money worries, that's all been forgotten about. Aadi's about to go for a spin in his new car when Asha comes out to tell him about Kelly having their mum's engagement ring. Aadi explains that he gave it to her for the couple's quiz prank and it's just a laugh and he's going to get it back from her. And Kelly overhears this and somehow goes mental, throwing the ring into the street. And as Aadi and Asha chase after it, Kelly jumps into Aadi's new car and steals it and drives off because she's Abby now. Abby!
Yeah, she's
Aadi-
like, if I'm going to steal something, I'm going to steal something of value, which burned to Aadi's mum's ring,
But not like that.
but not like that.
Which I'm sure was lovely. And expensive.
But, you know, I think Kelly is mad because they've had
Sex. Yes.
So the way that he's phrasing it, and he's not saying, oh, I had sex with her for fun and it doesn't mean anything, you know, but to her, it's kind of implied because I think both of them feel more than they did initially, or this has allowed them to feel more than they did initially. Because I think they both had the hots for one another before now, because we saw it when they were going to go on a date and then Kelly got kidnapped.
Right.
Because that's a thing that happens to Kelly and everything. So
She's recovered well from that, we'll have to say.
So I can understand, well, it's just another trauma to add to the pile. So I can understand her being upset. Upset enough to steal the car, however, when she doesn't have a license. That was kind of harsh.
It was over the top.
I was glad that Asha discovered the ring now, though, because I was really worried that they were setting this up for Asha and Dev to accuse Bernie of stealing the ring when she's cleaning their house.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So I'm glad that's not going to happen.
Or Dev might still do that because Dev doesn't know at this point.
Yeah, but Dev doesn't. How would Dev know that the ring is not there anymore if Asha doesn't tell him?
Because he's going through the rooms tidying up. That's been set up
But
as well.
he's not tidying them up anymore because now he's hired Bernie to do that.
Oh, they can find a way for this. This is nothing. This is nothing to make this happen if that's the way they want to go.
Yeah.
But anyway, all Aadi really said was stuff that they'd previously agreed.
Right. But that was before they had sex. And he said those lovely things.
Right. So Aadi goes to chase after her. He has an idea where she's gone, and he has his bike, but he hasn't been on it since he was 11, so the tires are flat. So he goes off in hot pursuit on Asha's pink princess bike, wearing a helmet.
With a unicorn on it.
I'm just surprised there weren't stabilizers on the back. This was
right, because
hilarious.
Apparently, even though Asha has definitely not ridden this since she was 11, its tires aren't flat.
She takes better care of it.
Because comedy.
Right. Aadi rides over a footbridge and leaves a message for Kelly, accidentally telling her that he loves her, then apologises for that and for being an idiot, giving her the ring without telling Asha, and how he was only covering. And it's Aadi here, by the way. Oh, that was fucking bad. He admits to himself as he rides off.
Right. And what emotional maturity this kid has to recognize that the first time he tells her that he's in love with her shouldn't be in a voicemail.
Yeah.
And recognizing how terrible that was.
Right.
You know, I just... It seems like it's impossible for me to love this kid even more, and yet every time I love this kid even more.
I'm exactly the same.
He's so brilliant.
Aadi has successfully tracked his car down and it's been primed into a bollard. Along comes Kelly, who is listening to his message, and she melts a bit as she asks him if he really loves her. It's very Friends, this as well. Later...
It absolutely is Friends.
Yeah. Later, it's several episodes of Friends.
Correct.
Later, he announced that he found her because she said this was her happy place, which is like a wee lake. He explains why he lied to Asha and how wonderful he thinks she is and how he really does love her. She tells him only to say it if he means it. And he says that he does. She's falling for him too, which isn't the same, but it's good enough. Back on the street, Dev and Gary are chatting about their kids when Aadi rolls back in a car that has been primed in the front with steam pushing out from under the bonnet, and Dev starts to cry. Aadi takes the blame, but then Kelly takes the blame, and then a passing Asha backs up Aadi. Dev worries that Kelly is a bad influence, but Aadi insists this was all on him and he'll pay to get the car fixed. Kelly and Aadi are slowly wandering away, but then Dev asks loudly why Asha's princess bike is in the back of the car, so Aadi says, "Keep walking."
Right, which was also funny and delightful.
And they walk off camera. Later, Aadi and Kelly are home now, winching on the couch and reminiscing about the exciting events of the day. "Well, if you think that's exciting, hold on to your knicker," says Aadi, "because remember that time a couple of days ago you told me to live in the moment? How's this?" And he gets down on one knee and proposes for reals this time. And Kelly the chin, "Will you marry me?" And she says, "Sure, why not?" And that's how we end this week's episodes. I loved this. I was so in this. This is like watching a romantic comedy from your youth. This was watching You're Pretty in Pink or something. This was something that just had
Without all the racism
without all that stuff in it.
and misogyny.
Right, and a better ending. But this was... It was just so heartwarming, the whole thing. And they went to a little bit of an extreme. A little bit of an extreme? They went to an extreme with the car stealing thing.
Right.
But they handled it well.
I think
as
so.
a kind of comedy thing with the bike being in the back.
And what a good sport to be like, yeah, of course I'll ride this bike with this pink helmet on with the unicorn on the front.
Right.
And get all sweaty down my front for this role. Of course I will.
So I was 100% invested in it and loving it. But then he proposed for real and she said yes. And it kind of took a little bit away from me. I'm
just really sad because we know this is never going to happen because Millie's leaving the show.
Right. Spoiler.
Right. And that's the thing that bums me out because this is a couple I can get behind.
Because it means one or two things. He's going to be heartbroken.
Right.
Or he's leaving as well.
Right.
And neither of those things is something that I want. It's especially not the last.
I'd rather him leave than be heartbroken. Although I don't want him to leave because this is what they keep doing. They keep my favorite characters keep leaving, and it makes me very sad. And it leaves the show with characters that they don't know what to do with anymore. But
ignoring that we know this, even on that basis, I'm still not. I think maybe it is. It's because it's been so widely reported and kind of impossible for us to miss about Kelly leaving that it has informed my view on them. Now, if I didn't know that, maybe I would have been better with it. I don't know.
I'm happy about it because I can't wait for other people to find out and for other women on the show who are not married or engaged to their long-term partners, looking at their long-term partners saying, "What the fuck?"
The way that it's kind of believable, though, is that it's a reminder of being 17 or 18 and being that age.
And being in love for the
first time. And how overwhelming that is.
Yes.
And how caught up in it you get.
Right.
But
at the same time, you're like, oh, yes, of course, this is, first love and being swept up and everything. But Aadi is the kind of kid that I can see marrying their high school sweetheart and being perfectly happy the rest of their lives.
He's that kid. Right.
He is that kid. I'm not 100% sure Kelly's that kid.
She's not that kid.
But it's believable. And again, they have great chemistry together. I can believe that they are in love with one another. Mm-hmm. Sad for Simon.
Yeah, and Amy.
Right. Well, Amy can still be a thing.
Well, we had
Eventually.
Aadi and Amy having their little detective agency together with their large dog, but...
Well, maybe Kelly is the Daphne of this situation, and Amy is the Velma.
Yeah, we can work it out, I'm sure.
We still have no Shaggy. But that's fine.
Bernie. And Bernie's mate, who was a stoner. Remember?
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. But anyway, yeah, I find this really lovely and delightful. I am mad as hell that they finally give Kelly a storyline where she's happy towards the end. And I will be even madder than hell if it turns out that this happiness is going to lead to something awful that takes her away from the show.
Yeah.
Because of course it will. And I don't want another, and I am speculating here. I'm not saying that this is absolutely what's going to happen, but I really don't want to have another young couple start out and us being really invested in them and saying, oh, wow, this is a really great pairing between the two of them. And then one of them dies horribly.
Yeah, I didn't really
I do not want a
another
Seb and Nina situation again.
I agree. And that's all far too close for them to go down
well,
that route.
one would think, however,
yeah.
the show
do worry
keeps
about
repeating itself over and over and over and over again. So.
You do worry about it. And even in the more recent history, I always loved Toy and Imran together, and look how that turned out.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I try and fill that hole with Spider, but it's a big hole. Thanks, Imran.
Spider can't fill Imran's hole.
No, they really can't.
You really can't.
Either like that or not like that.
No. It's so sad because he's not a supernatural creature from Stephen King's The Outsider. But
stop going on about that book that nobody's read.
It was already made into a limited series with Ewan McGregor, so everybody knows. But anyway, yeah. It was nice. It was nice. We briefly got to see Carla and Peter be cute with one another this week. You know, the show reminding us that Carla and Peter are still a thing.
Mm-hmm. And it also reminded us that James is a footballer.
Right. Yes. That doesn't really have anything to do with couples on the street.
No, it doesn't, but we did get reminded
It was
of that.
nice to remember that James is actually a semi-famous football player. And it was nice for the show to remember that. And I can kind of see like his neighbors forgetting that occasionally. And we have to have this outsider from London come in and be like, oh, wow, that's James. You know, and everybody being like, oh, yeah, he lives next door. Yeah. It's no big deal. Right. I can kind of see that.
It's like the people who live across the street from Stephen King.
Right.
Oh, yeah, Stephen King's across the street.
Yeah, well, isn't that Susan Collins, that horrible senator? Or did she move? She moved. She used to live across the street from Stephen King.
That was her house that was for sale at a reasonable price.
Yeah, we almost bought it so we could be Stephen King's neighbours.
Anyway.
And live in Maine. That
was the week that was Coronation Street.
It was.
What was your moment of the week?
Aadi and Kelly at the pond.
Oh, at the pond?
Yeah.
Not the little chat leading up to the
No, I think the way that kind of where he formally says I love you and she says I think I'm falling for you as well, and you know, and them talking maturely about each other and their lives and everything. And
yeah, and that reminds me that I wanted to kind of draw a little bit of attention to that he says that he loves her and she says I think I'm falling for you too,
right,
which isn't the same as I love you, but that made it more believable.
Yes,
that she wasn't immediately in the I love you or I'm ready to say that I love you, but she can see herself getting there.
Right,
that felt like a Kelly thing.
Yes,
it was a kind of self-protection maybe a little bit, but also I don't want to just say it because you said it, and that made it more believable as well.
And was it Faye and Craig who had a similar conversation where one said I love you and the other one said I think I'm falling for you too?
I can't remember. I
think it was, and this was a far more believable. You believe Kelly,
yeah.
You don't believe Faye. These sorts of interactions sometimes work and they sometimes don't. And here's a situation in which they work. And I think at one point Nina and Seb had this conversation where one was ready to say I love you and the other one said, well, I think I'm falling for you too.
Really, you seem to have memories of this being
I don't know, almost
repeated ad nauseum through the show.
Well,
I don't really recall it as much as that. But anyway, we're drawn away from the fact that this was our
moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
Yeah, at the little pond. It was a nice little framed show as well.
Yes, it was. It was really nicely shot.
Your boring moment of the week?
Chesney worrying about the kebab coupons.
Oh, Chesney, when will you stop worrying about those kebab coupons? Not this week. And that is our
boring moment of the week.
Just, can you please just let Chesney smile? And I mean, she's obviously made them herself.
Yeah.
And she says they are, you know, in her response, well, they are when I'm working.
He's pissed off that she's going to give away 2 £3 kebabs.
Right.
Big deal.
One to his maybe soon-to-be wife.
Right.
The mother of his children.
Certainly.
And her brother. I thought it was funny when Gemma was wearing Paul's hat and Paul was wearing Gemma's hat. And Paul says, G for gay. Then he puts on that pink sparkly hat. And that turns Billy on.
It certainly does.
G for gay.
Much to Den's
discomfort.
Well, more than that, I think.
Right? Is that the title of this ep? G for gay?
No.
Oh.
It's the Weatherfield Inquisition, I think I've called it.
Oh. That's fun.
It was quite fun.
G for gay.
If you have any alternate suggestions for the title of this episode, please write in to tell us. We're the talk of the street at gmail.com and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. You can shout me and Helen a coffee by heading to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street. Check out the clicky section of voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode, and we will be back next week with more
Talk of the Street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.